genre.
To another episode of The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Around, the weekly podcast where we review, discuss, and recap every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez and the Poncho Boys.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing episodes 1 through 3 of Power of the Daleks, which is the second Doctor's first story. So, let's get into it.
Let's really dive in.
No.
So we start off with Ben and Polly kind of freaking out in the TARDIS because the Doctor, who was previously an old guy, is now Patrick Troughton. And he wakes up and it's kind of disconcerting and a little bit creepy. He's rummaging around in the TARDIS for some new clothes. He's got his post-regenerative, crazy eyes going on. And the TARDIS is, I assume, just in mid-flight. And Ben and Polly have no idea what's going on. Classic companion. And the TARDIS just kind of lands. And the Doctor goes out. There's a bunch of mercury swamps. It's weird. There's a guy in a really awkward morph suit. He kills a guy in front of the Doctor and then knocks the Doctor out. And
I'm just imagining the end of Ant-Man. It's just Cassandra's voice, but this is all just happening.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, it just goes back to my deep desire to remake every classic Who story as a drunk history thing.
Oh my god.
Yes, yeah.
Because it would be incredible. Anyway, continue, Cass. Continue.
Yeah, so the Doctor gets knocked out by this assassin guy. And they are found by these two random guys from an Earth colony on this planet called Vulcan. Live long and prosper. You get your first glimpse at Lesterson, who's kind of a scientist of the mad variety. And there's a capsule that he's kind of obsessed with. There's some politics. It's kind of boring in the first one, but it kind of escalates as we go.
I think it's real boring.
And there's Daleks inside the capsule, and the reveal shot's pretty cool. And there's some weird Dalek mutant cliffhanger nonsense going on. And that's part one. Yeah.
So let's talk about, I think what is the most important part of this episode, which is this being the very, very first regeneration story. And everything about regeneration, except for the word regeneration, is in this story. It's insane. Everything you know about the way the Doctor is after a regeneration, it just comes from this. Him walking around, being weird, and it's kind of amazing. And right out of the gate, it's just I don't know whose decision it was to do that, but it works like gangbusters, and Troughton just comes out the door swinging.
Yeah, he does.
I couldn't help but think about the scene in An Adventure of Space and Time where we see Troughton about to regenerate, and that. Yeah, he really does just kind of come in just quietly, already owning the role. He has a little bit of swagger about him that is enviable, especially when you think about other Doctors who kind of took a while to sort of get the hang of it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, the other question I have too, like, okay, so this episode is written by, or I guess this story is written by David Whitaker. Is this the first Dalek story not written by Terry Nation?
It is, and that's why it's kind of also a big deal.
Yeah.
Because previously, Terry Nation, who created the Daleks, wrote all of the Dalek stories. And personally, I think that the two Dalek stories that were written by David Whitaker, because there's Power of the Daleks, and then like 2 seasons later, maybe a season later, it's Evil of the Daleks, which was intended to be the Daleks' last story ever.
Right.
Were written by
Hilarious.
like not the creator. Yeah, were written by not the creator.
We're so simple.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I actually have a lot of thoughts on the Daleks, but like this is not the appropriate time to talk about that yet, because they're barely in this part. But yeah, it's interesting that this is the first episode not written by Terry Nation, first Dalek episode not written by Terry Nation. I love Ben's ring test, as if like he just like, the Doctor wore this ring all the time. You put it on. Look, it doesn't fit you. You're not him. I'm like, what? What does that prove? Ben and Polly may be the most worthless companions like the show has ever seen.
Okay, so I had never seen these people before.
Right.
I mean, this was my first episode. Like when I, okay, so like get back into my shoes for a little bit. Okay. The last. Oh my God, no.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's okay. We're good.
All right, continue.
All right.
We're on your shoes, and then we just fall to our doom.
Okay. So, yeah, like from my perspective, the last time that I saw like this show was the end of the first episode of, the Unearthly Child. I almost called it the Cursed Child. But so I have no idea who Polly and Ben are. Actually, okay, wait. So who's Quinn?
Quinn's just a character in this story.
But there's a companion named Quinn later on, right?
No.
No.
There's not another Doctor Who character named Quinn. For some reason, that scene, when I heard that name in the show, I was like, oh, isn't that like the name of a person? Oh, Tegan. There's a companion named Tegan.
Yeah, you're thinking of Tegan, not Quinn.
I was thinking of Tegan and Sarah, and their last name is Quinn.
Oh, that is a weird connection.
That's welcome to me.
Yeah.
Welcome to my. But yeah, I love them. I love them so much. I love that Ben is just like an undereducated, like kind of like Cockney, just I don't know. Just like this is exactly the kind of person, and not the kind of person that I want to see with the Doctor. And like, it kind of makes me like, I don't know. I think it might be interesting to have a companion be like a character. Because like the past few companions, while different, have usually been like, oh, they're ingenues, and they're protagonists. But like, imagine if there was a Doctor that was just, a companion that was just like that's like a soccer hooligan,
right. I mean, arguably, he kind of gets a 15th century soccer hooligan right after this.
Oh, great, cool.
In a lot of ways,
like just get a talking dinosaur. Like I don't know, don't get another 25-year-old like British woman,
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna. I mean, I think Troughton arguably has two of the best companions.
Yeah.
One of which you'll meet in the next time that we talk about Troughton.
Ooh.
But yeah, like his companion pairings are really, really strong. They did a really good job.
Well, he's such a strong Doctor. I mean, and I'll bring this up. throughout the week. But when I remember hearing, like, back when the run was first starting, the 11th run, that they're like, oh, so who's your doctor? And Matt Smith said, I think my doctor's Patrick Trout. And I was like, well, I don't really know who that is, but I know, like, I know he's the second doctor, but like, I don't really. But watching this, I was like, oh, I get it now. I see what parts of this character that Matt Smith was kind of like channeling during like certain episodes of his run.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool.
For
and
sure.
Also, and like, like there's shades of Capaldi, and or you can kind of notice like, oh, and when I was watching Hartnell, even though he's not in that episode nearly enough, or in Unearthly Child, I'm starting to see, it's like when you go back and you listen to like Bad Brains, or
right.
like this, like the Stiff Little Fingers, and you're like, oh, Green Day, okay, I get it now.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I love the bit, like, just going into the whole idea of like just the second doctor like coming in the door swinging. I love that bit where he gets that the stovepipe hat, which I don't think he ever wears again. I think it's just in this. But he's got that, and he's reading the diary, and he's not looking where he's going, but he's like stepping over all of the puddles. It's pretty. That's some pretty good. It's pretty good trouting. I'll be honest.
Begging my own pardon, the recorder hasn't shown up yet.
The recorder?
His recorder. Has he played it already
Yes.
in episode 1?
Yeah. He pulled it out of the pile or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to cut that shit out like right now. I was not a fan.
Well, I mean, the recorder is the most annoying instrument on the planet.
It is, and I was just like, you. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was. I think that was his. Is that his Fez?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because I mean, this is pre-sonic screwdriver, and I think that the recorder is a proto-sonic screwdriver. I think
He just likes holding stuff, doesn't he? This guy.
Yeah, he does. He does like holding stuff. There's also that line. I mean, speaking of like the regeneration process, they call it rejuvenation here, or renewal.
Or like renewal, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is nicer.
It is, but it's also, it makes me wonder, and I've had this thought for a while, was Patrick Troughton cast to play the young version of William Hartnell's Doctor?
Wow.
Like, was the idea... Was the original idea of this whole renewal process, they use renewal because he's basically de-aging himself.
Because that was the whole point, was they were like, Hartnell, you're too old.
Right. Is that what was going on?
You're old as sin, and we want you out.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think that they casted him to be, like, not a like an imitation of Hartnell. They were kind of just swinging for the fences and hoping that people would go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And while I can see some of Hartnell's influence in this first episode, I don't really think that that's the direction that they were trying to go for. I think they're just
but is that what they were? I guess my thought is like, is that what they were trying to make the audience believe?
I don't know. I've never seen that.
In the mythology of the show, is like, oh, he became young. Well, because like there is that really great scene where he's holding up the mirror and you can still see Hartnell, and I guess that can be taken as like, it can be taken both ways. It can be like a Dorian Gray kind of thing, or it can be like a, what we know it now as is like a doctor acclimating himself to his new face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because like the show isn't quite. It isn't a dynasty yet. Right now, it was still just like at like season 2 of Glee, where it's like, well, can this hot show keep being hot after like Chevy leaves? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that we have Troughton, who is stepping into a really popular role at the time in like pop culture in England, but wasn't an icon yet. So he kind of isn't beholden to Hartnell the way that Eccleston or indeed like Capaldi, who worship the show, like there isn't that iconography yet, which is really interesting because there kind of is, but there's not.
Right. That's all I've got for part one. You guys have anything else for part one?
I kind of like how, I know that we were like crapping all over Ben and Polly, but I actually like,
I love.
I like them quite a bit. They're better than
How
Dodo.
do they meet? Tell me. Just tell me like a story. How do they meet?
Okay, Dodo is the bottom of the barrel. Like, Dodo is just the worst companion ever. Dodo.
You were like, oh, I think they're pretty useless. I'm like, I'll raise you, Dodo.
I mean, fair. I would lose that bet.
But I like that when they're like talking amongst themselves while Troughton is like figuring out how he works again.
Right.
I like that from the beginning, the companion audience proxy thing, like for every regeneration you always have like this character that's questioning the identity of the Doctor, especially with Capaldi recently.
Right.
So I like that this establishes that, and it's like, it's okay, we got you. It's the same guy, just trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of just carries through like 50 years later.
Yeah, it's kind of cool this time because the audience really was with Ben and Polly, whereas like now it's like the audience is always going to be a little bit ahead of like Clara or Rose, you know?
Right.
I
I think they always know now, like intellectually, everyone always knows, like, okay, this is the same guy.
It comes
we know
up
how this works, but what they focus on now is like the emotional element of being so attached to that previous guy, and now it's this new person, and you're like, I don't know, like I don't know.
Come on, you dad.
Right. So I really, it all starts here. Like I said, it all starts here, which is just, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts how, how much of this carried over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, okay, this is pretty much, like certain stuff, like, I was waiting for Patrick Troughton to, like, say something self-deprecating about his appearance.
Right.
I was like, no, I bet they weren't there yet. I bet you couldn't. I'm not gonna make fun of myself for this fucking. I mean, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not gonna make fun of my face for this show, you know.
Right.
But now it's like, oh, I'm in Doctor Who. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, Nick, tell us about episode 2.
Yeah. So Ben is trying to track down like that thing that they saw. And they run into a bunch of people, like more of this weird underground kind of like Planet of the Apes government that I never really fully understood. They meet a man named Resno, who's one of Lesterson's like research assistants, and so like they're getting introduced to all of these characters, and like they're learning about kind of like the lay of the land, so to speak. But they meet Bragan, who tells everyone about like this weird underground movement that's going on, and some stuff goes down, and eventually it's revealed that they are attempting, or members of this government are attempting to domesticate Daleks. I guess would that be a good word? Like brainwashing them. And we end the episode with a Dalek revealing itself and claiming to the doctor that he is your servant, or he is his servant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
in that great like lower tone, like I love how I like how the Daleks' voices are in a lower register in this.
Yeah.
Like it's like in the I think now like I am your servant, but he was like I am your servant, and I'm like I like that. It kind of has more of like a Kylo Ren feel almost. It's kind of like a growl, it's kind of like a growl to it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it used to be that there was more than one voice to the Daleks. Now it's all
no kidding.
Yeah, now it's all just the one guy. What's his name? The big Finnish guy.
Okay.
Cass. What's his name?
Huh? I can't remember.
Well, I remember in one episode it ended and just one man was credited as voice of the Daleks.
Well, then he must have varied his voice more. Nicholas Briggs is the current voice of the Daleks and the Cybermen. He does both.
That's fun.
And he's sort of like the executive producer of all the Big Finish stuff as well. He's a crazy Doctor Who guy. Does a lot of stuff, but yeah, no, I like the way that the Daleks sound. I'm really excited, Nick. I don't know when that's going to come up next, but I'm excited for you to meet the classic Cybermen because
oh my god,
they sound so different and they're so creepy. Like
it can't be worse.
Oh, it's pretty great.
No, I actually and I'm trying to figure out what episode I want to say this in, but I guess I'll just say it now. But like I'm so about the vibe of this is very reminiscent of like an old Universal horror movie where there's this feeling of dread that starts in this episode and kind of builds starting from this point on. But I'm all about it. Like, I mean, there's like the mad scientist stuff. There's the like, you know, kind of like melodrama. You know, there's like already like traitors, or you know, like people like, oh, we can't trust him. He's part of the. And it just centering all of this human drama around a Dalek is a really great way to use a Dalek because it's kind of, I think it's taking advantage of the Daleks' inhumanity. Like the idea of them being like a weapon as opposed to like, you know, the Joker of the Doctor. I was really into it.
Yeah. It's really good. And, but I will say that I don't know if it's, because I was thinking about like the Dalek episodes that come before this, and they're not like this, but there really seems to be this seems to be sort of an ongoing Dalek storyline now. Like one of the things that I noticed having, you know, since I started watching Doctor Who is that all Silurian stories are pretty much the same. They have the same storyline pretty much. Mm-hmm. What I found with this one, and I mean, this is the first time out that they do this, so this episode is really special because of that, but it's hard to separate myself from all the Dalek stories that I've ever seen, and I'm realizing that a lot of Dalek stories are the same. There's always like the one, like the Doctor shows up in this place where they stumbled upon Daleks, and they're like, oh, we can use Daleks to be like good guys, and the Doctor's just like, no, you can't. Daleks can't be good. That's not a thing. And they're like, no, it's totally fine. He's like, no, they're gonna kill all of you. No, they're not. That's ridiculous. and then the Daleks kill everyone, and the Doctor's like, I told you guys. I don't know what you thought you were doing. And that kind of like every Dalek story since this one kind of is that Dalek story.
Or it's the, like, can the Dalek be changed? Or, like, can the Doctor change the Dalek? And then it's always like, no, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, variations of it, especially when you throw, like, Davros into the equation.
Which I choose not to.
Yeah. But for the most part, like, it's like comparing this story to... what is that one from series 5? Victory of the Daleks? This is a lot like Victory of the Daleks.
Well, I was going to say that like you can definitely tell that you can deftly tell that this story in particular influenced that one very heavily, and I think that was the point of Victory of the Daleks. Like I think it was like an homage to Power, but this one does it way better. Honestly.
Yeah, way better. Yeah. Way better. Well, I mean, this one has Lesterson. Like, let's just talk about him.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the Crispin Glover of
Lesterson's pretty great. And the scene in this episode where the Doctor, like, accuses Lesterson of being like, he's just like, there is space for 3 Daleks in that capsule, and there's only 2 there. You stole the 3rd one. He's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. He's just so faux offended. Like it's incredible.
No, Lesterson's great, and he only gets better from here.
Yeah.
You know, another. But speaking of Universal horror, Lesterson kind of, he gestates from mad scientist to like Rainfield.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll get there when we talk about
Oh,
that.
totally.
But
I thought of that as I said it.
Yeah. I also, there's that moment in this where the Doctor is in that room and he's talking to Ben and Polly, and then he shushes them and then like cuts the fruit open and finds a listening device in the fruit. And it's just like, somebody just put a listening device in a piece of fruit? Like, that's not how you hide spy gear. Like, you don't put it in a piece of fruit you can eat.
What are the odds? He checked the fruit.
He checked the fruit. Oh, God. Why'd we put him in the room when he's hungry? Like, man.
It's a very Rick Sanchez move, really.
It's ridiculous.
Shut up.
Camera. I also like, during the experiments with Lesterson, I like that the Dalek wakes up for a second. Like, because this whole thing is that Lesterson is trying to wake up these Daleks because they're all in, like, a hibernation mode. And he's trying to wake them up, but he doesn't know how to, like, what their energy source is, for a while, which we'll get to their energy source, and that's ridiculous. But we'll get there. But
it's called power,
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah, so
dogs can't work on water unless they have power.
Oh, the power of the Daleks. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I just now put that together. So
doesn't it sound? It sounds like a hip hop record from like the early 80s.
It does. So he wakes up one of these Daleks, and like as soon as the Dalek wakes up, it just instinctually shoots someone.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. And so like he's just like oh, bad Dalek, and then just takes his gun away. Like he just
my
the gray gun.
My new dream, all I want from this show, and I will defect to England if I have to. But there will be a scene where someone hits a Dalek on the head with like a rolled up newspaper.
There's a lot of teaching Daleks tricks in this episode.
Oh, it's so great. Which is great because
I love it when humans teach Daleks tricks.
Yeah. Offering tea.
Yeah. I want to have a scene where they try to teach a Dalek a trick, and as a treat they get to kill something.
Oh my God.
killing Nazis.
Yeah, that would be great.
I want my scalps.
So we move on to part 3, the Power of the Daleks, in which so we left off with this Dalek shouting, "I am your servant," and then the governor is really impressed by this, and it's like, oh man, we're going to be able to use these Daleks for stuff. It's going to be great. What stuff they're going to use these Daleks for, I don't know, but stuff. They want to use the Daleks for stuff. I don't know. And so
well, the merchandising rights alone, Scott.
Right. Well, fair. So the Doctor is just like, no, he's not having any of this, because he's just like, you can't. This is not a thing you can do, guys. This is the worst decision you're ever going to make. They're going to kill everyone in this colony because that's all they know how to do, and blah, blah, blah. Daleks.
Don't get the Doctor started on Daleks.
Yeah. So they send the Doctor back to his room, and then the Doctor, who swiped this thing from the room from the lab, he uses that and a metal bracket from the bed in the room, and he MacGyvers this thing together that's going to be able to like cut off the Daleks' power supply, so we can end the Daleks' reign of terror before it begins. And then the Doctor, so the Doctor shows back up at Lesterson. Lesterson's like, what are you doing in here? Because you want to stop the Daleks, and, you know, like, I'm trying to do, like, cool things, you know? Like, I potty trained this one. Like, it's going to be awesome. Like,
this one throws beer at me.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty great, and you're not on board. And the Doctor's just like, no, I'm totally on board. And I just, like, whatever. He's like, so you want to bury the hatchet? He's like, bury the hatchet. I want to be besties, buddy. Let's just, let's be best friends.
Man. You're crazy, Batista.
And Lesterson's like, oh, all right. I always wanted a friend. And so the Doctor and Lester become friends. And then as Lesterson's distracted, the Doctor immediately betrays him and tries to fry this Dalek. and the Dalek starts like spinning around in circles and like freaking out, and then
spazzing out.
Yeah, and then Lesterson writes him, and then as soon as he writes him, the Dalek tries to shoot the Doctor, but he doesn't have his ray gun anymore. So the Doctor gets away. I love and then the Daleks are like, we need material, and we need all of this material. And if you give us this material, we'll be your servants. And he's like, okay, great. I mean, this is a lot of material, but I'll figure it out, and we'll get this going. And then we find out that the body of the guy in the first episode that was assassinated.
The guy in the morph suit.
Yeah. He finds they find the body, and they realize that he was the examiner that was called to the colony, because of the capsule that the colony found that are full of the Daleks. They called this examiner, but then the examiner was assassinated, and the Doctor sort of like took up his identity or whatever. And so now they're like, wait, so the Doctor isn't actually the examiner, and there's this whole thing. So they're going to put the Doctor and everybody in a jail cell. It's this whole thing. And then the Lesterson is like, okay, I'm going to get your stuff. And the Daleks are like, okay, but we also need power. And and then they all just start shouting, we will get our power.
Yeah.
We will get our power. Yeah, right, exactly. we will get our power.
That would be great. One of them, just the greatest musical sequence.
Yeah.
This episode really, like, the Daleks are in like fine form in this episode, and I was just thinking while I was watching this. By the way, just on a technical note, the mode in which we watch these episodes, there were like stage direction subtitles.
Right, because these episodes actually don't exist, so we watched reconstructions.
Yeah, reconstructions, rejuvenations. And they can't settle on what to call the Daleks, like gun stocks.
Yeah.
Like they call them they're sucker sticks. They're face suction cups. They're eye stalks. And I just loved how no one could settle on a name of what to call those. And I'm just like, okay, like, why do the Daleks work? Why are they so awesome? Because like they are unapologetically good in this episode. You know what I mean? Like they're actually like the kind of scariest I've ever been. They're the scariest I've ever seen the Daleks. Like the most, and maybe it's a combination of the black and white. And I think Daleks really lend themselves to being black and white. I think like you see a Dalek in the full light of day in color, and like they're hella stupid. But like, because they're fat and they're slow, and like they're so vulnerable and like demanding and like needy and weak.
Right.
but they're just such great villains, I think, because they're this impossible combination of vulnerable and invulnerable. Like in this episode, and especially like in episodes, going into 4 and 5. When the Daleks are mounting their threat, you feel the threat. And you're like, oh, these guys could actually wreck shop. But there are those amazing moments where like the Doctor's trying to kill this Dalek, and he's just like and just like he's helpless. And you kind of like feel for them a little bit.
Also, not for nothing, but did you guys notice that Daleks say material like they're about to break into Material Girl?
Oh my God.
Material. They say Material Girl.
Girl. And I am a material girl.
Material.
Oh my God. Before they start like shouting, especially in this episode, I think they're kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of are.
They're like-
They're just
They're like weirdly adorable until they're really scary, and it's this weird like dichotomy that's always kind of existed with Daleks. I don't know.
You know what they are? They're like the living embodiment of, you know, that meme where like the finger is pressing down on the baby bat, and
Yes.
like the bat is saying like, "No, stop it! Like I am the night." Like I think that's why is that like they are like inside they're these horrible, just empty, violent, hateful little like pieces of goo. But on the outside, they're just these weirdly like cuddly, fat like robots that can't go downstairs. Which is like one of the three main ways to go up and down things.
there's
completely
definitely an alternate universe where the Daleks are basically like Baymaxes from Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
like literally, you can kind of imagine hearing like, you know, like that really like hello, I am a Dalek. Which
Yeah.
It's like, ah! It's pricked my throat! Like, and they're so impatient, and they're so like spoiled, and like they want
Instead of
everything.
sounding like what's his name? Scott. Scott.
Yeah, Scott Adsit.
Yeah, instead of sounding like Scott Adsit, they just sound like every Hitler video you've ever seen.
Yeah, like. Like they're so spazzy. I think that's what it is. Like a Dalek getting killed, there's like no dignity to it at all. It's always like it's like in Mario Kart where you like go over a banana peel.
Oh my God.
So we find out in this episode that Daleks run on static electricity. Because I guess in the 60s, no one knew what static electricity was.
So they're just constantly rubbing against each other.
Right.
Rob me! Like one's like slowing down.
The
like
materials they need are balloons that they can just rub against each other.
Balloons?
Material
It's like a woolen
balloon.
blanket.
Put the blanket around me!
They're using static electricity, they're going to turn Vulcan into New Scarrow.
It'll take 800 years, but they'll do it.
Yeah. Static electricity.
Oh, I
Oh,
think that's a
boy.
Terry Nation thing.
Oh, it's madness. It
That's
must
so
be Terry
funny.
Nation because it's madness.
That has to come
Absolutely.
up again. Like I want like the 12th Doctor to be like, oh no, they run on static electricity. Damnedest thing. I don't know how they do it.
I don't understand it.
I don't.
Why I
don't
can't
want
ever
to.
defeat them.
So stupid and random. We need to be robbed. But there's no. They're like they're like the most physically intimate species, but there's no like pleasure or joy from it at all.
Rob me.
Rob me. Two of them have to like rub up against one like a sandwich. Enough. Like he goes.
He goes for like 5 feet and they follow him.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Oh. Oh man. Also, body disposal on Vulcan is literally just like people throwing like dead bodies into like the mercury puddles.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
so
I'll just put this here and this will be good.
He was a good man. And so what year did this come out in? Like 1965?
66.
66. Was Star Trek already on the air?
It started the same year, so it must be.
So it's just a coincidence that this planet was named Vulcan.
But I don't know. I mean, yeah, definitely a coincidence. But I don't know if.
Oh, you don't know when Vulcan was introduced,
Right on Star Trek. I don't know
Right.
if that was like from the beginning or if that was later.
Oh, yeah.
You
in
sure
the
are from
show.
Vulcan, aren't you, Spock? Yes, I am, Commander Pike.
Right.
I hate Spock in the first episode. He has those weird eyebrows.
Yeah, he is super weird in that first episode.
That whole first episode's really weird.
It is. Kirkless.
It's also really misogynist.
It is.
I was watching it the other day, and it's like, we have to throw women at him so they can breed. And the women are like, well, I guess we have to, don't we?
Oh, the 60s.
It's like, these poor girls, they need my help.
Oh, there are
they're
a
like
few
adult
things I
women.
love.
They're like in their 30s. Like, they're not like, it was weird. It was really weird.
It was super, yeah. But yeah, there are a few things I love more than Daleks just chanting. Like
anything.
Oh my god, it happens like 5 times in the course of this story. It's so good.
Yeah, they're weirdly social.
And like 3 times it's the end of an episode.
Yeah.
I want them to I want them just once to chant something like positive. Believe.
Believe.
Like, I would love to see a bunch of Daleks in Fenway Park, and like they're doing,
god,
they're singing like Sweet Carol. Ba, ba, ba.
I just want an album of Dalek covers of like really happy songs.
Oh my god.
Like, hello.
Or like, what's that song in 500 Days of Summer? The
Temper Trap song?
No. The one he dances to. The
Hall & Oates.
Yeah, the Hall & Oates song.
You make my I would love to see a Dalek. I would love to see a Dalek in that scene, like doing like the Joseph Gordon-Levitt like dancing.
Right? Yeah. No, totally.
It's just like, but it's just rolling, and people are like dancing around it. The Dalek looks in the mirror.
He sees Han Solo.
Yeah, he sees Han
god.
Solo in his reflection. Does that make me Nancy?
Her knobby knees.
Chloe Moretz is playing soccer, and she looks out in the bleachers, and there's just a Dalek. Oh, man.
Heaven knows I'm miserable now.
Like, Zoe Deschanel's in an elevator, and she's sharing headphones with a Dalek, and then she, like, leaves, and the Dalek's like, oh my god!
Oh my god.
God, if I had $10,000.
Yeah.
Just start remaking movies with Daleks as one of the characters.
Just one.
Just one.
like Ghost, but just like Whoopi Goldberg with
Oh my god.
Oh, good.
Well, you can actually make Nick's dream come true because we now have a donation button on our website. We can find us at thedoctorscompanion.us. Email us your thoughts on 500 Days of Dalek at contact at thedoctorscompanion.us.
For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a Dalek.
I'm going to get the papers. Get the papers.
I have to get home to stir the sauce.
They're all wearing like white beaters and. Like...
Oh my god!
I have to admit, it turned me on.
Oh my god!
Oh, good Daleks.
Oh man!
Oh god, so on board.
Okay. Find us on Twitter at TDC Pod. Tumblr, we're the doctorscompanion.podcast.tumblr.com. Make us some fan art of a Dalek in a, whatever movie you want. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on iTunes. If you want to hear more wacky Scott and Nick antics, they host Back to the Future Minute, which is wonderful. We have Geek by Night Out, the original web show, web podcast, audio drama.
Audio
it's really
podcast,
great.
audio series.
Audio podcast, yeah. Check that out, and subscribe on, or donate on Patreon. You get a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff with that. And next time, join us for Power of the Daleks, parts 4 through 6.
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye.